The vast emptiness of deep space held its breath as the INS Prometheus cut through the darkness, its quantum engines humming with barely contained power. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes fixed on the strange anomaly that had brought Earth's most advanced vessel to this unexplored sector of space. Signal analysis complete, Captain. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez announced from his station, his voice carrying a mix of excitement and confusion. It's unlike anything we've ever encountered. The transmission appears to be running on quantum frequencies we didn't even know existed. The bridge crew of the Prometheus represented humanity's finest, scientists, soldiers, and explorers chosen from every nation on Earth. They had ventured further than any human expedition before, following a mysterious signal that defied conventional physics. "Put it on screen," Chen ordered, turning to face the holographic display that materialized in the center of the bridge. The signal appeared as a complex, ever-shifting pattern of light and energy that seemed to pulse with its own inner rhythm. Dr. Elena Patel, the ship's chief xenologist, stepped forward, her weathered face illuminated by the strange glow. "Captain, these patterns, they're not random. There's definitely an intelligence behind them, but it's operating on principles that make our most advanced AI look like pocket calculators." The Prometheus had been tracking the signal for 3 weeks, following it through uncharted space. Each day brought them closer to its source, and each day the signal grew more complex, more intriguing. The ship's quantum computers worked overtime trying to decrypt what appeared to be layers upon layers of information encoded within the transmission. "New contact." The tactical officer's voice cut through the contemplative silence. "Massive structure detected at coordinates 227 Mark 115. It's bigger than anything we've ever encountered." The main view screen shifted, revealing what at first appeared to be a small moon. But as the image enhanced and clarified, the crew fell silent in collective awe. The structure was clearly artificial. A massive spherical installation covered in intricate geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. "Energy readings are off the charts," Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across his console. "The structure appears to be the source of the signal. But there's something else. It's scanning us." Captain Chen straightened her uniform, a habit born from years of military service. "Shields at maximum. Begin first contact protocols, but maintain safe distance." "Dr. Patel, what are we looking at?" The xenologist shook her head in wonder. "If I had to guess, Captain, we're looking at technology thousands, maybe millions of years ahead of our own. The energy signature suggests this installation has been here longer than our species has existed." As the Prometheus held position, the massive structure's surface began to shift, revealing what appeared to be an entrance large enough to accommodate their ship. The signal changed frequency, becoming more focused, more direct. "We're receiving a new transmission," Rodriguez announced. "It's different. The computers are actually managing to decrypt this one." He paused, his eyes widening. "Captain, it's a greeting. In perfect English." The bridge speakers crackled to life with a voice that seemed to resonate on multiple frequencies simultaneously. "Welcome, children of Earth. We have been waiting a very long time for a species worthy of what we protect. You are the first to decode our signal and approach with both courage and caution. Perhaps you are the ones we have sought." Captain Chen shared a look with her senior staff before responding. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the International Naval Ship Prometheus. We represent the United Earth Government. May we know who we're speaking with?" The answer came with a slight delay, as if carefully considered. "We are the custodians, shepherds of galaxies, guardians of knowledge accumulated across eons. Your species intrigues us, humans. Unlike others who have stumbled upon our outposts, you neither fled in fear nor rushed in with reckless abandon. You observed, you analyzed, you thought." Dr. Paddle stepped closer to the captain, whispering, "This could be the greatest discovery in human history, an ancient civilization, still active, willing to communicate. The voice continued, "Your vessel's design speaks of innovation, combining principles we've seen before in ways we never considered. Your quantum drive signature suggests you found paths through space-time that even we had overlooked. You are young, yes, but perhaps that is your greatest strength." Captain Chen maintained her composure, though her heart raced with the implications of this encounter. "We're honored by your welcome, but I must ask, what exactly are you protecting? And why have you chosen to reveal yourselves to us now?" The response carried a note of what might have been amusement. Direct questions. Good. You seek understanding before action. What we protect is knowledge. The accumulated wisdom of 1,000 extinct civilizations, the collected science of species that burned bright and faded into stardust. As for why now, the structure's surface rippled like waves on a pond. Because your species stands at a crossroads. You have developed the power to reach the stars before learning to fully master yourselves. This makes you either the greatest threat this galaxy has ever faced, or its greatest hope. The bridge crew exchanged glances as the weight of those words settled over them. Humanity had indeed advanced quickly, perhaps too quickly, developing quantum drive technology barely a decade after achieving reliable fusion power. Their ships now carried enough energy in their drive cores to devastate entire solar systems if misused. "We understand the responsibility that comes with power," Chen responded carefully. "Earth's history has taught us harsh lessons about the price of advancement without wisdom." "Yes," the voice agreed. "We have studied your history. You make war, yet you strive for peace. You destroy, yet you create. You fear the unknown, yet you reach for it anyway. You are contradictions given form, and perhaps that is exactly what this galaxy needs." The massive structure's entrance remained open, an invitation hanging in the void. "Captain Sarah Chen of Earth, your ship and crew have been measured since the moment you detected our signal. Every decision, every course correction, every power adjustment has been noted and analyzed. You stand now at a threshold. Through this portal lies knowledge that could advance your civilization by millennia. But knowledge without understanding brings destruction. Are you prepared to be tested?" Captain Chen straightened her back, feeling the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. The decision she made next would affect not just her crew, but potentially the entire human race. She looked at her bridge crew, the best Earth had to offer, and saw in their eyes the same determination, the same curiosity, the same drive that had pushed humanity to the stars. "We are prepared," she answered, her voice firm with resolve. Humanity has never backed down from a challenge, especially one that offers the opportunity to learn and grow. The voice seemed to carry a note of approval. "Then let the trials begin. May you prove worthy of the legacy we guard, children of Earth. For if you succeed, you will become more than inheritors of ancient knowledge. You will become its guardians, joining us in our eternal watch over the galaxies." As the Prometheus began its approach toward the massive portal, Captain Chen couldn't help but feel that humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger universe. Whatever trials awaited them would test not just their technology or their intelligence, but the very essence of what made them human. The stars seemed to watch in silence as the ship moved forward, carrying with it humanity's hopes, dreams, and potential. The age of Earth's isolation was ending. The true test of humanity was about to begin. The INS Prometheus drifted through the massive portal, its sensors struggling to process the impossible space within. What appeared from the outside as a simple spherical structure opened into what seemed to be an entire pocket universe, filled with technology that defied human understanding. "Gravitational readings make no sense," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his hands moving rapidly across his console. "It's as if space itself is folded in here. We're simultaneously in a space smaller than Earth's moon and larger than our entire solar system." Captain Chen watched as crystalline structures materialized around their ship, each one pulsing with its own inner light. The voice of the custodians returned, now seeming to come from everywhere at once. Your first trial begins now. Before you stand 3 paths, each leading to a different challenge. Choose wisely, for your choice itself will be part of the test. 3 distinct corridors of light appeared before the ship, each a different color, one blazing red, another deep blue, and the third a shifting iridescent green. Dr. Patel's instruments whirred as she analyzed the options. The red path shows intense energy readings, possibly dangerous. The blue path seems to lead to some kind of massive data structure. The green path, it's strange. My instruments can't get a clear reading at all. Captain Chen considered their options carefully. In her experience, the obvious choice was rarely the right one. What do we know about the custodians so far? She asked her crew. They value understanding over raw power, wisdom over brute force. The blue path, then, Rodriguez suggested. If it leads to data, maybe that's what they want us to analyze. Chen shook her head. Too obvious. They already know we can process data. They're testing something else. She turned to her crew. What makes humans different from other species they've encountered? We didn't run from the unknown, but we didn't rush in either. We observed, we thought, we asked questions. Dr. Patel finished, her eyes lighting up with understanding. Captain, I don't think we're supposed to choose a path at all. Chen smiled. Custodians, she called out, before we choose, may we ask about the nature of these trials? The crystalline structures around them pulsed with what felt like approval. Ask your questions, children of Earth. Are we required to choose only one path? There was a pause, longer than any before. In all our years of testing species, none has ever asked this question. They all assumed they must choose. Please continue. Chen's confidence grew. These paths, they represent different aspects of development, don't they? Power, knowledge, and mystery. But true wisdom comes from understanding how all these elements work together, not choosing one over the others. The space around them shifted, the 3 paths merging into a single brilliant white corridor. The voice of the custodians carried a new tone. Respect. You understand more than you know, Captain Chen. The first trial was not about choosing a path. It was about questioning the choice itself. True wisdom lies not in selecting from given options, but in seeking to understand why those options exist at all. The Prometheus moved forward into the white corridor, its crew watching in amazement as reality seemed to reshape itself around them. They emerged into a vast chamber where fragments of what appeared to be countless civilizations floated in suspended animation. Behold the archive, the custodians announced. Here we preserve the crucial moments of every species we have encountered. Their triumphs, their failures, their moments of choice. Now you shall face your true first trial. The space before them cleared, revealing what appeared to be a holographic representation of Earth and its colonies. But something was wrong. The simulation showed massive energy signatures approaching the solar system, far larger than anything humanity had encountered. This is not a simulation, the custodians explained. This is a real-time view of your home system. An ancient automated defense system, left by a long-dead civilization, has detected your species' rapid technological advancement. It views you as a potential threat and will reach your system in 30 of your days. You have 3 options. 3 crystalline panels appeared before the bridge crew, each displaying different information. You may use the weapons we could provide you, technology centuries ahead of your own, to destroy the threat. You may use our advanced shields to protect your worlds and wait out the attack. Or you may continue with the trials here, possibly gaining the knowledge to prevent such threats in the future, but risking that you might not complete them in time to save Earth. The crew looked to Captain Chen, whose face remained carefully neutral as she studied the situation. The obvious choice would be to take the advanced weapons. Earth needed protection. The safe choice would be the shields. But Chen had learned that with the custodians, the obvious path was rarely the right one. There's something you're not telling us, she said finally. This automated defense system, You said it detects rapid technological advancement as a threat. If we use your advanced weapons or shields, wouldn't that just confirm its assessment of us as a danger? The crystalline chamber resonated with what could only be described as pleasure. Once again, you pierced to the heart of the matter, Captain Chen. Yes, using advanced technology would only escalate the situation. But there is something else you haven't asked. Why show you this threat now, as part of your trial? Dr. Paddle stepped forward, her eyes wide with realization. Because the response to the threat is the trial itself. The defense system's programming. If it's based on detecting technological threats, then the solution isn't to fight or hide. It's to communicate, Chen finished. To prove we're not a threat by showing we're capable of understanding and reason, rather than just advancement for advancement's sake. She straightened her uniform. Custodians, we choose none of these options. Instead, we request your help in establishing communication with the defense system. We'll prove to it that humanity's advancement comes with wisdom and restraint. The chamber erupted in light, the crystalline structures pulsing with brilliant colors. In all our eons of testing species, few have ever recognized that the path of wisdom often lies in refusing to play by the apparent rules. You have passed the first true trial, children of Earth. And in doing so, you have already begun to change how we view your species' potential. As the lights dimmed, Captain Chen and her crew found themselves facing a new chamber, one that seemed to bend and twist with impossible geometries. The next trial awaited, but they had learned a crucial lesson. The custodians weren't testing their ability to choose between options, but their wisdom in questioning why those options existed at all. The true test of humanity was not in showing their power or their knowledge, but in demonstrating their capacity to think beyond the obvious, to seek understanding before action, and to find solutions that transcended simple choices between force and submission. The serenity of the custodian's testing chamber shattered as alarms echoed through the impossible space. Captain Chen watched as the crystalline structures around them shifted from their usual calm blue to an urgent red. Perimeter breach detected. The custodian's voice announced, its usual measured tones replaced by something approaching concern. Unknown entities have penetrated our outer defenses. They are different from any we have encountered. The main view screen of the Prometheus lit up with images that seemed to defy physics itself. Massive ships, if they could be called that, pushed through the dimensional barriers of the custodian's realm. They appeared to be made of living metal that constantly shifted and reformed, adapting to any resistance they encountered. The swarm, the custodians explained. We had detected them at the edges of known space, but never believed they could breach our dimensional barriers. They consume technology, adapt to it, evolve beyond it. Our defenses. A massive shockwave rocked both the chamber and the Prometheus as one of the outer barriers collapsed. Lieutenant Rodriguez's hands flew across his console. Captain, these readings, they're not just adapting to the custodian's technology, they're absorbing it. Each barrier they break through makes them stronger. Dr. Patel's voice carried a note of fascination despite the danger. It's like a technological version of natural selection, happening at an impossible speed. Every defense triggers an immediate evolutionary response. Captain Chen studied the tactical display, her mind racing. The custodian's defenses were failing because they were too perfect, too advanced. Each precisely calibrated response just gave the swarm more complex technology to absorb and adapt to. Sometimes, Chen said slowly, the most advanced solution isn't the best one. She turned to her crew. Lieutenant Rodriguez, power up our main railguns. Dr. Patel, I need everything you can tell me about these creatures' adaptation rate. And get me a channel to the custodians. The crystalline chamber hummed as the custodians responded. Captain Chen, your weapons, while impressive for your technology level, would be useless against entities that can absorb and adapt to our defenses. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Exactly. Tell me, in all your eons of existence, when was the last time you used something as primitive as kinetic weapons? There was a pause. We abandoned such methods millions of years ago. the energy efficiency alone. Which means, Chen interrupted, the swarm has never encountered them either. They've evolved to handle energy weapons, quantum fields, dimensional barriers. But sometimes the simplest solution is the one your enemy least expects. Understanding seemed to ripple through the crystalline structures. You propose to fight beings that can adapt to the most advanced technology in the galaxy, with projectiles. Not just projectiles, Chen corrected. Lieutenant Rodriguez, prepare the main hold for manufacturing. Dr. Patel, I need you to help me explain something to our hosts about an ancient human weapon called a trebuchet. The next hour was a flurry of activity as the crew of the Prometheus put their plan into action. The ship's manufacturing units, designed for emergency repairs and replacement parts, worked overtime producing what must have seemed to the custodians like museum pieces, catapults, ballistas, and other mechanical weapons that hadn't seen use on Earth in centuries. The swarm approaches the inner chambers, the custodians announced. Our remaining defenses will not hold for long. They don't need to, Chen responded. Just long enough for us to get everything in position. Dr. Patel, status of our special ammunition. The xenologist looked up from where she was supervising the modification of several dozen projectiles. Ready, Captain. We've coated them with a mixture of the most basic conductive metals we have. Nothing complex enough for the swarm to adapt to, but when they try to absorb them, they'll get a nasty surprise. Chen finished. Lieutenant Rodriguez, are our positions set? Yes, Captain. We've placed the weapons at the strategic points you identified. The custodian's dimensional engineering actually makes the trajectories more effective. We can hit them from angles that shouldn't physically exist. The chamber shuddered as another barrier fell. Through the view screen, they could see the swarm entities. Massive, shifting masses of living metal that flowed through space like liquid mercury. They had adapted to every energy weapon the custodians had deployed, grown stronger with every quantum field they'd absorbed. They weren't prepared for the first volley of solid metal projectiles that slammed into them from impossible angles. The swarm entities tried to absorb the simple metal spheres, only to find their adaptive properties overwhelmed by the basic chemical reactions Dr. Patel had designed. Where they had easily handled quantum fields and dimensional barriers, they had no defense against simple physics and chemistry. Fascinating, the custodians observed as the battle raged. They attempt to adapt, but the weapons are too simple to provide any evolutionary advantage. And when they try to absorb the projectiles, they get basic chemical reactions that disrupt their more complex systems. Chen finished. Sometimes the best way to fight isn't to escalate, but to deconstruct. To find the simple solution that bypasses the complex problem entirely. The battle continued for several hours, but its outcome was never really in doubt. The swarm, for all its ability to adapt to advanced technology, had no answer for weapons so primitive they had been forgotten by most civilizations. When the last entity had been driven back through the dimensional breach, the custodian's voice returned, carrying a new tone of respect. You have done more than save our repository, Captain Chen. You have taught us something we had forgotten in our endless pursuit of advancement. That wisdom lies not in complexity, but in understanding when simplicity is the better path. The crystalline chamber slowly returned to its normal blue hue as Chen watched her crew begin collecting their improvised weapons. Sometimes the most advanced civilizations become so focused on moving forward that they forget to look back, she said. Humanity's strength isn't in our technology. It's in our ability to innovate, to find solutions in unexpected places. Indeed, the custodians agreed. And in doing so, you have passed another trial, though not one we had planned. You have shown that true advancement lies not in abandoning the old ways, but in understanding when they still hold value. As the crew of the Prometheus began to stand down from battle stations, Captain Chen couldn't help but wonder what other tests awaited them. But she had learned something valuable. The custodians weren't just testing their ability to use advanced technology, but their wisdom in knowing when not to use it. The ancient repository of knowledge hummed around them, its crystalline structures now bearing the marks of battle, but standing stronger for the experience. Humanity had proven itself not just as warriors, but as innovators who understood that sometimes the path forward requires a step back to find the simplest, most elegant solution. The aftermath of the swarm attack left the custodian's repository in an unusual state of disorder. Captain Chen stood in what the crew had come to call the Grand Archive, watching as crystalline structures slowly repaired themselves. But something was different. New signals were penetrating the dimensional barriers, carrying with them a sense of urgency. They call themselves the Nexus, the custodians explained, their voice resonating through the chamber. Like us, they are among the eldest races in the galaxy. Unlike us, they chose to actively guide younger species rather than test them. They believe our method of watching and waiting has allowed too many civilizations to destroy themselves. The main view screen of the Prometheus displayed a new type of vessel entering the repository space, where the custodian structures were crystalline and geometric. These ships seemed to be made of pure energy, their forms shifting between states of matter like thoughts between minds. They have long opposed our methods, the custodians continued. Now they claim our failure to stop the swarm proves their point. They demand we surrender the repository to their control. Dr. Patel studied the energy readings from the Nexus ships with growing concern. Captain, if these two forces clash, the dimensional damage could ripple through hundreds of light years. Earth could be affected. Chen nodded slowly, her mind already working through the implications. Two ancient civilizations, each believing they know the best way to guide younger species, each powerful enough to tear space itself apart if they fight. She turned to her crew. And here we are, caught in the middle. The Nexus approaches, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. They're powering up some kind of energy matrix. The custodians are responding in kind. Chen stepped forward. Open a channel to both sides. Captain Chen, the custodians warned, this is a dispute between elder races. Your species, while promising, is still young. Perhaps, Chen replied. That's exactly why we should be heard. She straightened her uniform. Channel open to all parties. A new voice filled the chamber, somehow both harmonic and discordant at once. The voice of the Nexus. What presumption is this? A child race dares to intervene in matters beyond their understanding. With respect, Chen responded, I believe our lack of understanding might be exactly what this situation needs. While you debate the best way to guide younger species, has either side considered asking one of those species what they think? There was a pause, heavy with surprise from both ancient civilizations. Chen pressed her advantage. Custodians, you believe in testing species and letting them find their own path. Nexus, you believe in active guidance. Both approaches have merit, and both have flaws, but you're both making the same mistake, assuming that elder races must choose for the younger ones. The chamber hummed with energy as both sides considered her words. Chen gestured to Dr. Patel, who projected a holographic display of human history. Look at our history, Chen continued. We've had mentors who stood back and let us learn from our mistakes. We've had guides who actively helped us avoid disaster. We needed both. Sometimes we needed to fall to learn to pick ourselves up. Other times, we needed a helping hand to avoid falling too far. The Nexus ships pulsed with changing colors. You speak of balance, yet how can there be balance between action and inaction? Between guidance and abandonment? The same way there's balance in teaching a child to walk, Chen answered. Sometimes you let them stumble so they learn. Sometimes you catch them before they hurt themselves. The wisdom lies in knowing which moment calls for which approach. The crystalline structures of the repository shifted, reflecting the custodian's contemplation. You suggest a cooperation between our approaches. Such a thing has never been attempted. Because you've both been too focused on being right, Chen said, allowing a small smile. But the universe isn't binary. Look at what happened with the swarm. The most advanced defenses failed, but the solution came from combining ancient human warfare with your dimensional engineering. Neither of us could have succeeded alone. The energy patterns of the Nexus ships began to stabilize, their hostile posture softening. Perhaps there is wisdom in this perspective, the middle path, where both guidance and independence have their place. The child speaks with unexpected insight. The custodians agreed. Our own tests have shown that humanity's greatest strength lies not in choosing between extremes, but in finding ways to bridge them. Over the next several hours, Captain Chen and her crew facilitated discussions between the two elder races. The Prometheus's conference room became an unprecedented venue where beings of pure energy and living crystal debated the future of galactic civilization, with humans offering perspective from their unique position as a growing species. The solution that emerged was elegant in its simplicity. A council would be formed, combining the custodians' testing with the Nexus's guidance. Young species would be given the freedom to develop independently, but would have access to mentorship when needed. The choice of how much guidance to accept would rest with each emerging civilization. "You have done more than prevent a war," the custodians told Chen as the agreements were finalized. "You have shown us that even the eldest races can learn from the young." The Nexus added their own observation, their energy forms pulsing with what seemed like approval. "Perhaps this is why both our approaches were incomplete. We sought to teach, or to test, but we never thought to learn from those we watched over." As the crew of the Prometheus watched the two ancient races begin their new cooperation, Captain Chen reflected on how far they'd come from their first encounter with the repository. They had faced tests of wisdom, tests of innovation, and now they had helped bridge a gap between civilizations older than human history. "A remarkable achievement, Captain," Dr. Patel said quietly. "We came seeking knowledge, but we've given these ancient beings something just as valuable: a new perspective." Chen nodded, watching as the crystalline structures of the repository began to integrate with the energy patterns of the Nexus, creating something entirely new. "Maybe that's the greatest lesson here. True wisdom isn't just about having knowledge or power. It's about being able to see beyond your own perspective, to find connections others might miss." The repository hummed with new energy as the two elder races began their unprecedented cooperation, with humanity serving as a bridge between different philosophies of galactic stewardship. It was a role no one had expected humans to play, but one that perhaps only a young species with fresh eyes could have fulfilled. The Grand Archive had transformed in the days following the historic accord between the custodians and the Nexus. Where once there were only crystalline structures, now streams of pure energy flowed through the geometric patterns, creating a harmony of form and force that reflected the new balance between the elder races. Captain Chen stood before a gathering unprecedented in galactic history. The crew of the Prometheus faced an assembly of both custodians and Nexus representatives, their combined presence filling the chamber with an awe-inspiring display of light and power. "Humanity has surpassed all expectations," the combined voices of the elder races announced. "You have not merely completed our trials. You have transformed them. In doing so, you have transformed us as well." The chamber shifted, revealing holographic displays of their journey, their first cautious approach to the repository, their innovative solution to the first trial, their brilliantly simple defense against the swarm, and their diplomatic bridge between ancient civilizations. In each challenge, the Nexus observed, their energy forms pulsing with approval. "You showed us something we had forgotten. That wisdom can come from questioning the very nature of choices presented to us. That strength can lie in embracing simpler solutions rather than always seeking advancement. That true understanding comes from bridging perspectives rather than choosing between them." Lieutenant Rodriguez monitored his instruments with amazement as the dimensional space around them began to shift, revealing layers of the repository that had been hidden before. "Captain, they're opening everything to us. All their knowledge, all their technology. And yet," Chen said thoughtfully, "I don't think that's the real gift they're offering, is it?" The custodian's crystalline forms resonated with what seemed like pleasure. "Once again, you demonstrate the insight that makes your species unique." "No, Captain Chen, the knowledge is not the gift. It is what comes with it. The chamber expanded, revealing a vast network of light and energy stretching across the galaxy. What you see, the elder races explained, is the true extent of our influence. Millions of species, billions of worlds, all at different stages of development. Some are just discovering fire. Others are on the brink of quantum technology. We have watched over them for eons, testing and guiding as we thought best. And now, the Nexus continued. We offer humanity a place among us, not as subjects to be tested or guided, but as partners in shepherding the galaxy's future. Dr. Patel stepped forward, her scientific curiosity evident. But we're so young compared to your civilizations. How could we possibly? That is precisely why you are needed, the custodians interrupted. Your perspective as a young species who has faced our trials brings fresh insight to our ancient methods. You see possibilities where we see only established patterns. The chamber filled with images of Earth and its colonies, showing humanity's rapid but thoughtful development. Your species has a unique combination of traits, the elder races explained. You innovate like the youngest races, yet show wisdom worthy of the eldest. You embrace advancement while remembering the value of simplicity. You seek knowledge but understand that how it is used matters more than how much you possess. Captain Chen looked at her crew, seeing in their faces the same mix of awe and determination that she felt. What exactly are you proposing? The answer came as the chamber transformed once more, revealing the new structure forming within the repository, a section that combined human design aesthetics with the elder race's technology. We propose that humanity becomes the bridge between the old and the new. You will help us identify which species need guidance and which need freedom to develop on their own. You will help us understand when to intervene and when to step back. More than that, the Nexus added, you will bring your unique perspective to our council, your ability to find unexpected solutions, to question established methods, to bridge seemingly incompatible viewpoints. These are qualities the galaxy desperately needs. Chen considered the magnitude of what was being offered. And Earth, our own development, will continue as you choose, the custodians assured her. This is not about surrendering your independence, but expanding your role in the galaxy. You will be neither our subjects nor our equals in power, but our partners in perspective. The chamber hummed with the combined energy of both elder races as they made their final offer. We ask you to be the bridge between what was and what could be, to help us guide the galaxy not just with ancient wisdom or pure power, but with the innovation and adaptability that makes humanity unique. Captain Chen stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. On behalf of humanity, we accept this responsibility, not because we think we're superior, but because we understand that true progress comes from combining different perspectives, from finding balance between the old and the new, between guidance and independence. The repository erupted in a display of light and energy as the elder races celebrated humanity's acceptance. The crew of the Prometheus watched in awe as their ship's systems began integrating with the repository's technology, creating interfaces that combined human intuition with ancient power. The age of isolation is ending, Chen announced to her crew. But we're not just joining the galactic community, we're helping to shape its future. As the Prometheus's crew began their new role as bridges between civilizations, Captain Chen reflected on their journey. They had come seeking knowledge, but had found something far more valuable. A way to help guide the galaxy's development while maintaining the unique perspective that made humanity special. The stars seemed to shine brighter as the repository's power reached out across space, connecting civilizations young and old. Humanity had found its place not by becoming like the elder races, but by remaining true to their own nature, adaptable, innovative, and always ready to find new paths through the cosmos. The legacy of stars was no longer just a history to be preserved, but a future to be shaped, with humanity helping to guide the way forward while never forgetting the lessons of the past. The thunder of their arrival had transformed into a harmony of cooperation, marking the beginning of a new era in galactic history.